Okay, sorry for the wait, folks. Thank you for your patience. Good evening. Welcome to the November 6, 2017 Jurupa Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Roll call, please. Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Thank you. Nick, would you lead us in the flag salute? Thank you, Nick. On to our inspirational comment. Mr. Mendez, would you please lead us in that?
Thank you, Mr. President. There's been quite a bit of items in the news in relation to some of the divisiveness that has taken place throughout our country. And so the comment that I chose for this evening is from Martin Luther King, which says, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." And being a child of the 60s, of that generation, reminded me also of a song from that era entitled "What the World Needs Now." It was by Jackie DeShannon, and I know Harley probably in this room probably remembers that because they weren't around during those years. But the words go something like this of the lyrics: "What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love, not just for some, but for everyone." Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Mrs. Elzig, do we have any reports from closed session? Thank you. Okay, number one, welcome 2017-2018 student board members. Mr. Duchamp.
Thank you, President Garcia. Well, I was thinking we might do this differently tonight because I would draw your attention to the district website front page, and you might find a picture of one of our student board members, Jacob Singavad, and I was thinking, I know I didn't give you any warning, that maybe because this is a national honor choir, right, this is really good stuff, that you could sing your report. No. and since you were going to do it, then Austin and Heil would follow. But if you would really rather just read your report, it's okay, but congratulations, we're very proud of you. So you may start, singing or speaking.
Good evening, board. October has been a really busy month for us Jaguars. Throughout the entire month of October, we have been collecting socks for the nationwide event Socktober to donate to our local shelter. Our Jags participated with their hashtag JagKindSpirit and collected over 550 socks altogether. The fall sports season has officially come to an end as our senior athletes played their last game at home with their team. There was a lot of support from our Jags as they attended the senior night for boys water polo, cross country, girls tennis, and football. We are extremely proud of our Lady Jag tennis team who played their hearts out at CIF Round 1 and Round 2, so congratulations to them. And our second Jag Kind event will be a blood drive on November 16th in the JVHS gym. And there will be a food drive throughout campus until Thanksgiving break as our third hashtag Jag Kind event. And we're planning to get more donations than last year, hopefully, so we can donate it to our local shelter. Thank you, and this concludes my report.
Well, good evening, everyone. Fall sports are still buzzing at Patriot High School as we go into playoffs. Our volleyball team went 10-0 in league, and they made it to round 2. Also, on Friday, our football team has a CIF game against Colton here at home. Both cross-country boys and girls also won individual league championships, so congratulations to them. This last weekend, Patriots Dramatis Persona, which is our theater program, performed their first play, Bells, a play in 2 acts and 39 phone calls, which went well. Also, recently at Patriot, we've had a variety of colleges come on campus to present their schools with information like tuition, room and board, popular and prestigious courses, etc. Finally, we have just finished our second grading period and will be pushing hard these next 2 weeks until Thanksgiving break. And after Thanksgiving break, our winter sports will begin. Thank you, and this concludes my report.
Kyle, if you would like to complete with Rubidoux. Again, same choice to you.
Good evening, board. It feels great to be back after missing the last meeting due to not having transportation, but I'm here to talk about our upcoming Falcon activities. This Thursday, we have a blood drive again at Rubidoux. This will be our second blood drive of the year. Hope to get more than 100 donors this time. You know, with the tragic shooting in Texas, you know, blood runs thin, and it always helps to donate to whoever might need blood. And congratulations to 2 of our teams who managed to win league champions this year. Our ladies tennis won league champs. They went undefeated in the league, and cross country also won league champs. These past couple weeks, tennis played playoffs, and they lost first round against Temesco Canyon. And cross country plays prelims this Friday. Also in prelims is our football team who plays Burroughs High School in Ridgecrest, which is a 2.5-hour drive. And a special congratulations to our Rubidoux band, the Delta Alliance Corps, for placing first place this past weekend in a band competition. This concludes my report.
Thank you. And actually, before we go on to the next one, there's actually one common tie. We have one of the students being recognized in the next agenda item is Camille Hermosillo, and she can't be here tonight because she is in Sacramento, currently a finalist in her application to be a State Board of Education member. There were 12 students selected, and last I heard, she was in the final 5, kind of like the March Madness. So we are hoping the governor actually makes the final presentation. She's writing a project essay. I know that she interviewed, I believe, Trustee Ortega. She interviewed me. She had done lots and lots and lots of homework. This was all on her own initiative. So we're thinking about her tonight, hoping that the governor makes the right choice, because that is the only right choice. But we are very proud of her. So with that, I'll sort of segue to the next agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Chan. On to the next item, recognition. Recognize students selected for CAYC Student Advisory Board. Mr. Dabrowski.
Thank you. And one of our 2 members was able to make it tonight. So, Marka, can you come up front and we can recognize you? So the California Association of Youth Courts facilitates the exchange of information between emerging and existing California youth courts. They serve as an alternative to the traditional juvenile justice system. Each year, 8 youth members are selected to serve as advisory members of the Board of Directors of the California Association of Youth Courts. That's 8 statewide, of which 2 are from Jurupa. Once selected, they are asked to give their opinion on many issues concerning the development of effective youth court programs in the state, as well as the annual California Association of Youth Courts Summit. Jurupa Unified is proud to have 2 students selected from among the statewide applicants, Camille Hermosillo, who you heard about just a few minutes ago from Mr. Duchan, and Marco Gallegos, who serves from Patriot High School. So congratulations to Marco.
Thanks for being here, Marco. I actually met Marco at Student Youth Court a couple of years ago while he was deliberating, and I see him everywhere. He's always volunteering, so you're a fine young man, and we wish you the best of luck. And also Camille, wishing her luck as well. So, okay, on to board member comments. Let's start with you, Ms. Ortega.
And just to piggyback on that, actually my board comment will be in Spanish, and Camille's family is over there, so quiero preguntarles si pueden venir aquí enfrente para que también sean reconocidos. Yes, all of you, yes. So, mi comentario va a ser para ustedes particularmente el día de hoy porque tienen que estar muy orgullosos del trabajo que ha hecho su hija y el trabajo que están también haciendo ustedes con sus niños más pequeños, que todos nosotros aquí estamos sumamente muy orgullosos de todo lo que han hecho y lo que ella está continuando haciendo ahí en Sacramento ahorita, que está poniendo el nombre de Jurupa muy en alto y el nombre, su apellido de ustedes muy en alto, y que pueda ser reconocida por el gobernador del estado. Es algo que ustedes también como padres tienen que estar muy orgullosos. Son mucho gusto en conocerles y gracias por estar aquí. Yes. And that's Camille's parents, and I met them this Saturday in the youth court. I came and also just saw the students doing the best that they can. And I did a little bit of my homework, and it's really a process for you to win this position or get this position to be the student member for the State Board of Education. So like Superintendent Elliot Duchamp said, there's 12, and then there's 6 elected, and then there's 3, and then the governor itself gets to vote on the number 1. So we're rooting for Camille and the other, obviously, students that are there, but we have our hopes that Jurupa will bring it back home with number 1. So it's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortega. Mr. Mendez.
Thank you. Well, again, it's wonderful to have students representing our district at that level, so congratulations to them and their families, because obviously the families have a lot to do with where the students ultimately wind up, along with, you know, the teachers in our classrooms. And so we're very proud and happy for them to be representative again at such high levels in the state. And that goes along, I guess, with the recognition of our youth court program here in the district by the Riverside County Office of Education. And in addition to that, we'll be receiving another Golden Bell Award at the upcoming conference in San Diego by CSBA and the trade show there. So we're looking forward to receiving another Golden Bell for our district here in the coming week. At the end of the month. That one's at the end of the month. And speaking again of getting our district well known throughout the state, I was privileged to be asked to go to Fresno to a conference that's being sponsored for dual immersion programs, and they asked me if I would go up there and speak on behalf of the dual immersion program that we have here in our district. And so that'll take place at the end of the month, and I'm looking forward to sharing information. That conference is being sponsored by the Fresno County Board of Education, so it'll be really a privilege to be able to highlight, you know, the good things that are happening in our dual immersion program in the district. I think that's all I have for today. A lot of wonderful things happening in the district, and it's always a pleasure to enjoy to be here every board meeting and just be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Mrs. Bradford.
No puedo hablar bastante en español para su familia, pero en nuestra escuela es un sitio, ¿cómo se dice? No es un hogar, a place para aprender. So for me as well as for su hija and all of our other students, I just want you to know that adults are willing to make themselves uncomfortable in public, and that you should always be unafraid to do the same in the sake of education. So I want you to know I'm proud of you, I'm proud of your daughter, and we can all learn together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bradford. Mrs. Chard.
Well, I'm going to I have a cold tonight, so I'm just going to reiterate what my colleagues have already said. Congratulations to Camille and Marco, and all of our teams thank you for your reports. They were very good and give us a lot of insight as to how our students are performing in their athletic endeavors. I wish all of them good luck, and congratulations to the first place teams and the ones that made it to the finals. I also wish Camille extra luck for her endeavor to. It seems this year we're finding that several of our students are becoming state representatives, and I think that's great that our district is finally being noticed, that we have great students and people who are qualified to do the job as a student or as an adult. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chard. I just want to say, looking forward to some of the things coming up this week. The Parent Center is going to have a ribbon cutting on Wednesday, November 8th, so hope to see you all out there. And looking forward to that. I know Mr. Campos, Ms. Gomez, lots of folks are ready to move in there and do some great things. This past weekend, maybe a couple weekends ago, I had an opportunity to go over to Mission Middle, and there was a health fair, family fair. The Jurupa Alliance was there with a group called Friends in Sight, where 399 people were served as far as getting their eyes checked, getting eyeglasses. Thanks to Mr. Campos for helping with that, and also his programs were well represented, so I'd like to thank him and his team for their efforts. Coming up this, I think December 8th and 9th, I think some folks are going to speak about the Jurupa Unified School District Food and Clothing Drive, so looking forward to that, December 8th through 9th. Again, congratulations to Marco and Camille. I think Kyle from Jurupa Valley High School was also, was it national board member? So as Mrs. Chard mentioned, it's great to see our students out there participating at the state and federal level. And finally, I just wanted to say that on behalf of the board, I think send our condolences, thoughts and prayers out to the folks out in Texas. So, and that's my final comment. Thank you. Okay, next on to public verbal comments. First card I have here is Mrs. Shauna Cornejo. Do you want to hand them out to us, or oh, you want?
I'm Shauna Cornejo. I live in the community and I teach at Peralta. I had bus duty today. I don't normally look forward to bus duty because by that time of the day I'm ready to not have to talk to anyone. And today's bus duty was no exception. I didn't want to do it. Well, it turns out that today's time waiting for bus number 7 to arrive wasn't so awful because a little girl named Nesia, she got us going on an interesting game of Would You Rather. I did not realize until approximately 3 hours ago that I would prefer to be an octopus rather than a squid. And I also did not know until about 3 hours ago that I would prefer to be a bird rather than a bat, and that was definitely me in the minority on that one. But that is not all I learned about myself today while waiting for that bus with about 40 students who all live in the old Plantation Mobile Home Park that feeds to Peralta. I learned that my childhood was not like many of Peralta's students. When I was little, my concerns were over whether my brother was going to finish the Pop-Tarts before I got home from school, or if my dad was doing another one of his invent a crock pot meal adventures for dinner. Today I learned that my student Angel and his little sister, his bigger sister Desiree, I learned they have empty kitchen cupboards at home. And I also learned that today is food stamps day for them. And I learned how excited they were to go home today because their cupboards were going to be full and they got to see the food that was there. And I also learned that Angel and Desiree like to do extra chores close to this day because their mama will give them some of the food stamps money to buy a special treat. When I was young, there were so many treats in the house, they often went bad before we could eat them. Here's something I've known for a long time, though, that Jurupa is filled with little ones just like Angel and Desiree. Kids who know what empty cupboards are like. I don't know what empty cupboards are like. Maybe you do. I don't. Well, last year I had the same students I have this year, and that is not because I retained them all. It's because I moved up to 2nd grade with them this year. It's been a really amazing experience. Let me tell you something I remember about last year when my littles were in 1st grade. That same little Angel, he brought in several boxes of spaghetti and a bunch of his Matchbox cars for the JUSD holiday food drive. The very kids that need the food drive, who need an invitation for their families to come to get stocked up for the holidays, those are the kids who know what empty cupboards are, and yet they are the ones bringing in food so that others don't have empty cupboards. I learned a lot today, that selflessness can be seen in and learned from our tiniest constituents. And I hope that you will consider coming out on Friday, December 8th, that evening as we sort through everything at JMS, and Saturday, December 9th, for most of the morning into the early afternoon while we distribute to about 350 families from our school district. I want you to come. I want you to share in what selflessness really looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. And thanks, Nick and Kevin, for coming out and support. Okay, next one, Mr. Paul Swan Van Lent.
That is a hard act to follow. An important act to follow. Hello again. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Swan Van Lent, and I am the president of NEA Jurupa. I look forward to meeting one of you again, and still hope to meet with as many board members as will agree to do so as soon as we are able. In case you're not aware of it, and because from what I hear so many teachers and other members are aware of it, I feel compelled to share two of the greatest obstacles to effective learning and teaching in our classrooms this year. Lack of food, lack of safety. Of course, we know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and those must be met before, we can do our jobs well in the classroom. But in the classroom, the two greatest obstacles that I hear about these days to effective in learning and teaching is the consequences of the implementations of the district tardy policy and the positive behavior interventions and support procedures across every grade level. One consequence of the tardy policy has been that students trickle into class throughout the class period, repeatedly interrupting learning and instruction. Teachers are asked to then document the tardy during class time with a multi-step process in Q, the data management platform. More students are consistently out on campus during instructional time, creating a less secure and orderly campus. The implementation of PBIS has resulted in the increasing perception by staff and students that there is a significant lack of meaningful consequences for negative behaviors, as well as more reports of increasing levels of misbehavior and blatant disrespect of staff, also with few meaningful consequences. According to an October survey, among 368 of our members to whom the question applied, 74% of them feel less supported by administration in their management of disruptive or defiant student behaviors than they used to. And 75%, 3 out of 4, agree that the implementation of PBIS has made it more difficult to manage disruptive or defiant student behaviors. In my last statement to the board, I quoted from an NPR Ed article, which asserted that one of the main reasons teachers call it quits is that, overall, teachers and researchers say, educators want a bigger voice in school policy and plans. I shared a mutually beneficial goal for our members and the district to pursue collaboratively. Now that our member survey regarding our reality on the ground has been completed, I can share with some degree of astonishment myself that 94 out of 100 of our members agree with the idea that genuine collaboration between our association and our district administrators throughout JUSD's educational decision-making process would improve our members' working conditions. 96% of them also agree, 85% completely agree, that helping board members and administrators understand the reality of our working conditions is an important goal. I hope that administrators and board members also believe it to be worthwhile, that accomplishing these goals together is worth trying. We, the members of NEA Jurupa, stand ready to pursue these goals in collaboration with administrators because we believe that once they do understand our reality on the ground, they will agree that NEA Jurupa members are the best equipped, the most knowledgeable, and prepared through education, training, and experience to improve the quality of policies, procedures, and programs, and how they are implemented through collaboration in the educational decision-making process, so that, together, our district can facilitate the best possible student learning for each and every one of our students. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Paul Swan Ben Lit. Next, we have Sylvia Olguina, take it.
I received several calls from parents the past 2 weeks of an issue that was discussed years ago and that was resolved, so I was surprised when I started getting these calls again, and that is concerning child safety due to the heavy backpacks they have to carry. 5 parents sent me pictures where they weighed the backpacks with the least amount of stuff their kids had in them, and the one that weighed the least was 26 pounds. Now, for a child that's in 3rd or 4th or minor, I mean, even those that are in 6th grade, there's very small kids, add that weight onto their own weight, and that's a disaster waiting to happen. I fought this myself when my son was in school, and the result that the district did at that time, and I had no knowledge that it was no longer in place, was they bought a set of books for the kids to take home and a set of books for the kids to have at school, so there wouldn't be that issue with the backpack. Evidently, that does not hold today. I think it needs to be placed back because these children might not be affected today or even next year, but this is an issue that will catch up to them in their later years. And there's no need for any child to have back problems because they are carrying backpacks that are way too heavy for them. Some of these kids I've seen in the parking lot are just dragging their backpacks because they can't afford to get some with wheels on them. Now, we're all here for the kids. You guys got that enormous amount of money. Let's put it to use for the kids. It needs to be implemented again, a set of books for home, a set of books for school, so that none of these kids ruin their future by having trouble with their back.
Thank you, Mrs. Olguin. Mr. Dabrowski, I think, it's my understanding that kids do have a set of books. Is that the case?
It has started to change as we've adopted new series of books because we've made it a point, and as you know, with all the books we've adopted in the last few years, we've made it a point to adopt books that have a digital component that can be used so that that digital component can take the place of that book that would be transported back and forth or kept at home. So we're not buying 2 sets of books with those new adoptions because the digital component replaces that need.
Okay, thank you. That's kind of what the Chromebooks are for, right? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to administrative reports and written communications. 5A, reported results of local performance indicators for Priority 3, parent engagement, and Priority 6, school culture for California Accountability Dashboard. Mr. Dabrowski.
Thank you. As promised last board meeting, I'm back with 2 more local indicators. As you all recall, there are both state and local indicators in our state's accountability system. At the state indicators, we have chronic absenteeism, suspension rate, English learner progress, graduation rate, college and career readiness index, English language arts achievement, and math achievement, and those are all reported by the state. Those are the ones we receive, those colored pies that talk about both status and change and progress, and the state publishes that information. And then there are 4 local indicators, the 2 that we spoke about last time, which were the basics, teachers, instructional materials, and facilities, as well as implementation of academic standards. So tonight I'm here with the final 2, which are priority 3, parent engagement, and priority 6, school climate. And the way that those 4 are reported out by the state, it's on the dashboard at the CDE website. And rather than a pie, it's either a met or a not met. That will be the reporting process. And so to be met, districts have to take a look at that area and then report out to the board. So we have met the first 2 that we talked about at the last board meeting, and then tonight we'll talk about the last 2, and that will result in us being able to put meat on the state's indicator webpage. So in the area of parent engagement, as you're all aware, with our parent involvement community outreach department, we have made huge leaps and strides with our parent engagement. Lots of parent education programs, lots of opportunities for parents to get involved, lots of collaboration with different organizations led by that department and Mr. Campos, and it's been a huge success. In the contacts that we measure, we were able to determine that we went from just under 35,000 parent contacts last year to 15-16 to 53,000 parent contacts in 16-17. So a pretty large increase in what was already a pretty big number. So we're very excited about that, the parent engagement piece and the things that we've been able to do with the department. And as you all know, we'll be christening our new parent center in just a few days. And so that will make it even easier for our parents to come in and gain access to the services that we avail of them. In addition, you'll see in the supporting documents, there was some survey results that we gave a survey last year, and about 85% of our parents felt that our schools are either moderately or extremely welcoming, and that there are opportunities to get involved with school and district decision making. And so we do have our parents reporting that they're feeling welcomed and feeling like they can be involved if they choose to do so. We still would like to get many more of them to be involved, but we've seen a lot more in the last few years than we had in the past, and we're seeing a lot more parents taking on leadership roles, being able to teach other parents classes, and just being a stronger part of their students' education. So we're excited about that. In the area of school climate, we had 2 measuring tools. One is the California Healthy Kids Survey, and that's a survey given anonymously to students in 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th grades. It's only given every other year. It's a requirement. That's the way it's administered. It's something that's given across the state. And then also we have a student survey as well as parent and staff survey that we administer as part of our LCAP revision process. And we had about 2,700 students respond to that survey. About 1,700 of them were elementary, and then the remaining middle school and high school. So from those surveys, we had, for example, in the California Healthy Kids Survey in 5th grade, 97% of the students felt connected to their schools, 92% in 7th grade, 92% in 9th grade, and 88% in 11th grade. We had a high percentage of students who felt very safe to safe. And our LCAP survey, in questions, for example, how safe do you feel at school? 80% of students, 86% of parents, and 75% of staff reported feeling safe at school. And so that's, we want to see that number increase, and we're working towards that. And we'd like to see this coming year more than 2,700 students who are able to take that survey and increase that number. But this is baseline data because it's the first time we've given this particular survey. So we'll take some of the lessons learned from last year's administration, and when we do it this year, we hope to bring those numbers up.
Comment, Mr. President?
Yes.
As a former teacher and school administrator, I know how important the climate at the school site is, and in the classroom, each and every classroom. Particularly as a principal, I also recognize, although even as a teacher, I recognize this as well too, and that is that it takes the entire staff to build that quality environment in which learning and caring, takes place. The classified staff, along with certificated staff, is part of the total fabric of the school, and how students and families feel when they step on that campus. And so seeing these results here look good, and I continue hopefully to see them even increase higher, because I think it really, to me, it's important how students feel, and the families, their parents and so forth, when they step on the campus. That impacts their learning environment and ultimately their success in school, both socially, emotionally, as well as academically. So thank you for the information.
Absolutely, thank you.
Any other comments? So, Mr. Dabrowski, I just had a question about, you mentioned 2,700 students. Is that for both categories? Or
The 2,700 was the LCAP survey. The California Healthy Kids survey would have been all students at those particular grade levels. I don't have an exact number, but all students took that one at those specific grade levels.
So for the LCAP, what would be the maximum number of students? Because you also mentioned not every year or every other year. What would be the maximum number of students we could have?
The California Healthy Kids survey is every other year, but the LCAP survey we will give every year. I would say if, for example, 90% of all of our 3rd through 12th grade students were to take that, that may be in the neighborhood of 14,000. So we have a lot of room to get more students involved in participating in taking the survey.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Item 5B, open enrollment notification. Mrs. Ford.
Thank you. Per board policy, we are in the process of notifying parents of this year's open enrollment, which our dates will be December 1st, 2017 through January 12th, 2018. And this is the time where parents may come to. This year it will be the Parent Center. That will be kind of our first official active activities that are happening at the Parent Center. And they may come there to process an interdistrict or an interdistrict transfer request. And you have a copy of the parent information brochure included in your backup materials.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments? Now, Mrs. Ford, so with the Parent Center, will you be able to sign up students before the school year? Does it benefit?
Well, for
as far as that goes?
The open enrollment portion of it will be, we will just open it to those that are requesting transfers. Actual registration will start in March, and we'll start with kinder registration at that time.
So March for the following year?
Correct.
Okay. Normally, when do they actually register?
Usually we have early kinder registration, and that usually starts the end of March. We'll probably start more towards the beginning of March this year, and we'll run all the way through July. For registration for 18-19, registration for 18-19 would normally have taken place in July, but we'll be doing that much earlier with the opening of the Parent Center. So we'll be registering starting in March and then all the way through till the start of school.
Yeah, that'll help you with the projections probably.
It will help tremendously with projections.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Ford. Item 5C, CSBA Delegate Assembly. Mr. Duchan.
On actually, in 2018 School Boards Association Delegate Assembly nominations, that season is starting, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seats that are up, not ours, right? You get to continue.
Right.
So you may make nominations for your region or sub-region, I guess for any of these seats, right?
I think we can, I don't think we can do these. I think we can do as many. I don't
Right,
think
there's many, but they can only be for these seats. So, and we don't know yet who else is running, but you have until January 7th, so it would actually be our meeting in December that you would have to do it.
We would have to be a nomination.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if there are other nominations you want to make other than those that are serving or want to, I think these all have to be renominated also.
Right. Okay.
So
The only
either
reason
way,
I asked is there's Mr. Tom Elliott, I think, is not going to run from what I heard. maybe that might be the case too, so we'll have to follow up on that. Make sure we get a list of updated names.
Okay, so you need to get their permission, so
Okay.
we could ask Mr. Newberry, I know you see him once in a while.
Yeah, I'll talk to Bill.
And any of
see.
the others, yeah, so.
Right, okay. Okay, yeah, I'll go, and I've been talking to the president's meetings, so I kind of got a list of folks that are going to be running.
Great.
So,
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
Okay. We do have other administrative reports tonight. In light of the violence that took place at Castleview Elementary School that was in the news, we did have a couple follow-up things that we did in reference to it. So I'd like to have Dr. Hansen and Mr. Dabrowski report. I forget the order. I think Mr. Dabrowski was going to report first. He and Ms. Garza Gonzalez attended an SRO, I guess, quarterly meeting, and at that meeting they debriefed a lot of what happened at Castleview. I want to say our hearts go out to the school. I think this will come through that there was not, it was not a problem at the school. There was nothing they really could have done to stop it. If you looked at the news, the gentleman just really bulldozed his way on the campus, hit somebody else. But I'll let Mr. Dabrowski report, and then Trent follow up with where we are in terms of our own security plans.
Thank you. So I was fortunate enough to attend with Mrs. Garza Gonzalez a regional collaboration meeting among SROs from Riverside and San Bernardino County, and one of the main items on the agenda was Riverside Police Department talking about the incident at Castleview and relaying the events. And I was able to sort of listen and hear, their thoughts about safety at the school, about what the district administration did in Riverside, and how the police department handled that event, and see what we could take away from it as well. And again, like Mr. Deschamps said, it was the kind of event that no existing security measure could have prevented. The gentleman that came on campus, he was stopped at the office, but he violently left the office and took a teacher hostage, and it seemed that all of the actions that the school district took would have been the actions that we would have taken, and there wasn't really anything that could have been changed to make that better. So as a result, we're reviewing those procedures, and I've been in contact with Riverside District Administration, and in a week or so, when things calm down for them a little bit, we're going to meet and talk about their learnings and what they believe they could take away from it, so that we can learn and grow and become more safe for all of our students. So Dr. Hansen is going to talk about the safety measures we have been and are taking as well.
So I just wanted to report out some of the measures that we've taken over the last year and a half or so within the district. As many of you know, that one of the main, a major focus for us is to establish a single point of entry into our campuses. We work closely with law enforcement. We're very involved with our SROs and law enforcement, and have been to numerous trainings. And one of the things that stands out the most is eliminating access points from within a campus. And so we've taken great measures to do that. I think we're at about 88% of our campuses right now in our district are single point of entry. When the surrounding gates to the campus remain locked by staff and administration. We've also installed, if you remember a few months ago, approved about $100,000 of Measure E dollars to go through our various campuses and install self-closing gates with panic hardware that allows staff members to enter using their site key, but also anybody can exit the campus using the panic hardware. So that's happening at about 20, there's about 20 gates being installed, 17 to 20 gates being installed at various sites. So we're starting to move through the campuses and the district utilizing those measures. And the gates that we're not able to get to, that staff access on a regular basis in evacuation types of situations, we've replaced the padlocks from master keys to a separate lock where the staff are able to use their site keys to access those locks. And that we've place those at about 16 other gates throughout the campus district. We're also installing security cameras, exterior security cameras at our modernization projects, and we are planning on installing more throughout the district, slowly using Measure EE dollars as part of our campaign when we went out and campaigned for that bond and emphasized safety and security on our campuses. So currently those cameras are being installed at the current modernization projects as well as Del Sol Academy, and we're hoping to install more throughout the district. Again, those are on the exterior only to help with safety and security and vandalism and theft. Some of the routine actions that we take throughout the district, Mr. Tolan and his staff, they conduct Williams inspections on a regular basis, fire inspections on a regular basis. We consistently score high on those inspections. I think this last, the results from our last one was exemplary in all the sites that were visited. None of them received less than a 98%. In fact, 6 of the 8 were 100% on those reports. Mr. Jacqueline's office also conducts routine action throughout the school year. They have school site safety plans that are evaluated by both certificated classified staff as well as Mr. Jacqueline and his staff. Site evaluations are made with the safety committee throughout the campuses, and they're looking at injury and illness prevention items throughout the campuses. And those come to us or to the maintenance and operations department by way of work orders that we strive to work through. Numerous trainings on injury and illness prevention for our staff, ergonomic evaluations, etc. We also, as you know, have a Raptor system that is used at all of our sites, as well as Zonar Z Pass on our buses, where students, when they get on the bus, are accounted for, both getting on and getting off the bus. So those are some of the measures that we've implemented over the last year or so, and we continue to evaluate and try and improve on those measures, obviously, on an ongoing basis.
Thank you, Dr. Hanson. Mrs. Chart?
I have a question. In the future, you said you're working on installing security systems at each of the sites. Will this be something that possibly we will man from the Ed Center and be able to watch all of the sites at one time?
Yeah, those will all be managed at a single location.
Okay. Good.
Any other questions, comments?
Just to add as well, if you all remember when we were all wearing them, we implemented ID badges, staff ID badges, and I have to say that I've had some experiences going onto a campus where I forgot my badge. And I was surrounded by a group of staff members who didn't recognize me and forced to go. I have a key to most gates, but I was forced to go through the main office and check in, which I appreciated because that's really the intent, right, is that we are able to monitor and manage that. So that was one of the reasons that we have these badges, and I think it's helped a lot at the school sites. At least at Pacific Avenue, where I was forced to the office.
So they asked for your driver's license the whole bit?
I got the pat down. No, I didn't.
Ms. Ortega, you?
Yeah, no, thank you for the reports. Very, very informative. I just had a question. I know I'm part of the committee, but I probably got one email one time and haven't been notified when the committee meetings are. So if you guys can put me in touch with the committee, and I can probably make some time to be part of that, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you both for your reports and for attending those trainings. And I know when I was on the facilities committee, I did see a lot of the plans were already having that single point of entry. So great work on that. Okay. Moving on to item I think it's Item 1. Hold public hearing on proposed formation of Community Facilities District Number 16. Mrs. Ford.
As part of the requirement to establish Community Facilities District Number 16, a public hearing must be held on the proposed formation, including the proposed levy of special taxes and all other matters that are discussed in the resolution of intention, which was adopted at the October 2nd, 2017 board meeting. So we can open the public hearing.
Okay. This is the time and place for the public hearing for the proposed formation of Community Facilities District Number 16 of the Jurupa Unified School District, the CFD, including the proposed levy of special taxes and all other matters discussed in the resolution of intention adopted on October 2nd, 2017. At this time, we'll receive comments, questions, and any written or oral protests from any interested persons. When all comments have been received, the hearing will be closed. Notice of the public hearing has been duly published and posted in accordance with law. Any comments, questions, written protests? Okay. The public hearing is hereby closed. No written protests to the formation of the CFD were received. That's it. Okay. If I could ask the board if you would please refresh your iPads so we can vote.
Mine's not doing anything.
Did you hit up above? Hit the bar at the top. It's a little curly Q. Okay, it should reset everything. Okay. It's trying to.
All right. We're all ready?
No.
Okay.
Just a minute.
Take your time.
Thank you. My palms are sweating, Josh.
All it
Could I do it the old-fashioned way? the analog way?
It reset it, didn't it?
Third time.
Well, all it's going to do is reset, and then you have to go down to your.
I thought it was supposed to come
No,
out
wait
like
till
that.
it resets.
Yeah. Okay, I got that. Okay.
Oh, shoot.
We gotta put him
I'll
on
wait
the
it.
job.
All right. On to the action session. Item A, approve, adopt routine action items by consent.
Okay. You're welcome.
At this time, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Bradford,
Second.
second by Mrs. Chard. Any questions or comments? Okay. Call for the vote.
Coming up. Okay.
Mr. Mendez, have you had an opportunity to vote?
I did, I just didn't confirm it.
Okay, thank you.
It's confirmed now.
Motion passes 5-0. Item B, authorization to solicit bids for E-rate 21, year 21, 2018, 2019, Category 1 and Category 2 projects. Mrs. Ford.
Administration is requesting approval to solicit bids for E-rate Year 21, Category 1 and Category 2 projects, which may include telecommunications and network support services. E-rate grants would cover 10% of the total of Category 1 voice services. In addition, the district, for voice services, the district also qualifies for California Teleconnect funds. These are separate funds, which provide an additional 25% discount on its remaining voice service costs. E-rate Category 2 services are funded at 85% of total allowable budget per school, and that allowable budget per school is set at an established amount by E-rate of $150 per student, and is based on enrollment. So at this time, administration recommends the board authorize staff to solicit bids for E-rate Year 21, 2018, 2019, Category 1 and Category 2 projects.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments? Okay, call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item C, approve filing of E-rate year 21, 2018-2019, Form 470 SLD, and website posting for Category 1 and 2 projects. Mrs. Ford.
Thank you. As part of the authorization to solicit E-rate bids for categories 1 and 2, we also need to request approval to file the Form 470 SLD with website posting for the E-rate 21 program during the fiscal year 2018-19. The filing of the Form 470 places the district in line for the E-rate funding, and that funding will offset costs to telecommunications, broadband, and network support services. Administration recommends the board approve filing of E-rate year 21 Form 470 SLD.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Chard. Second by Mrs. Bradford. Any questions or comments?
I do. Ms. Ford, you indicated that that puts us in line for the potential funding for this. Is there any situation in which we would not be receiving those funds? Or
The only thing would be if they ran out of E-rate funding at the federal level.
Oh, okay.
So then we wouldn't receive it, but otherwise, but we tend to be at the top because of our free and reduced lunch numbers. We are at the higher priority.
Thank you.
So, Mrs. Ford, do we have to do this every year or every 2 years?
Whenever we feel we need to go out to bid a project, then we have to go through this process. So every year we do for category 1 for the telecommunication services, because we want to receive as much funding as we can for those, and for voice services. We don't always every year for category 2, which is our network infrastructure, but we have some projects that we would like to use the balance of some funding that we have available, so we do need to post it. It needs to be a competitive process under E-rate.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item D, adopt resolution number 2018/18, approving, authorizing the projects and filing of applications for funding under the State School Facility Program. Dr. Hanson.
So this documentation, these are resolutions, that both of them coming up, that are required for us to submit applications for state reimbursements. And so the administration recommends that the board adopt resolution 2018-18, approving the authorizing the projects and filing the applications for funding under the state school facility program. This particular resolution is specific to the career and technical education grants that came available recently. There's a November, I believe, 29th deadline for those applications to be submitted. And so we are applying for the pathways that exist at Jurupa Valley High School and Rubidoux High School, connected to the video production lab that's being constructed at Rubidoux High School and the Innovation Center at Jurupa Valley that will house 3 pathways. Each pathway is eligible for up to $1.5 million in state grants. And so we are applying for 4 separate pathways. Those applications are submitted to CDE, they're scored, and if we score well and we're awarded those grants, they'll come back to us to help offset the costs of those facilities for those programs. But this resolution is required.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
No.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mendez, second by Mrs. Chard. Mr. Mendez?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment, because I actually had a couple of questions, but you actually went beyond the questions that I had here. So more information I actually was requesting in my notes here. So thank you for your very comprehensive presentation on this.
So, Dr. Hanson, I just got a question. So this is having to do with Prop 51, I think, the state's
Right.
facilities bond, where the state opened that up for these projects, these types of
For
projects.
career and technical education. So if you remember, the governor has a stay on the modernization and new construction grants. He wants some modifications made to the program guidelines, but he has allocated money for the career and technical education portion or projects. And so we want to jump on it. The nice thing about these grants are these are in addition to the modernization grants that those facilities are also eligible for. So essentially we could be getting money for the same facility, but for two different types of programs or grants. And so we want to put ourselves in that position. If we get them, great. If not, at least we tried. But that's, $6 million sitting there is worth the effort. But we've got to move quickly on it.
So the governor has opened up some money for this purpose.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay. No more questions or comments? Okay, let's call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, on to item E. Adopt resolution number 2018/19, approval of the use of pupil grant eligibility for the construction of the library building at Glen Avon Elementary School. Dr. Hanson.
Again, this is a resolution to allow us to apply for new construction grants at Glen Avon Elementary. Because the library sits in a 960 square foot portable, the program allows for new construction for a library in addition to the modernization eligibility that we have at that school site. But in order for us to apply for those new construction grant dollars through this program, there's a resolution. This resolution must be adopted by the board stating that we are in fact pursuing those dollars. So administration recommends this evening as the board adopt resolution number 2018/19, approval of the use of pupil grant eligibility to construction of the Glen Avon Library.
Thank you, Dr. Hanson.
Move to approve.
Motion by Ms. Chard,
Second.
second by Ms. Ortega.
I have a question.
Mr. Mendez?
Dr. Hanson, this particular one then is the one that falls under that category of funding in the state that is sort of in limbo at the present time, meaning that the system could stay in place conceivably or it could change later on in the year. But by having it in, either way, it's advantageous to us. If it's under the current system, it'll stay at the top of the list, being that it's one of the ones that probably is getting up there first or earliest. But if the system changes, then it'll just have to be considered under whatever system is adopted at that time. So at this point, basically the resolution applies. It just depends on how it's going to play out in the course of time.
That's correct. Exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just have one last question, Dr. Hanson. So originally, we're already in line on some of the matching funds, right? So this is an addition to that?
That's correct. So we're in line already with Glen Avon modernization dollars, but the library, we can also submit an application for new. So there's $2, right? Modernization and the new construction. But this application is for new construction of the library itself.
Okay. And that's also part of that Prop 51?
Exactly.
Okay.
Those monies have not been allocated at this point, but like Mr. Mendez stated, it allows us to get in line so that if those dollars are issued, we've got our place in line.
Any idea of when the governor might release those monies?
No. What we're hearing is that he won't. I think the word out there now is just waiting for the new governor to take part. It was voted on by the people. It passed. It passed by a majority of the people, but he'd like to see some changes to the program, and there's some stalling in those efforts.
Okay, thank you. All right. We have a motion and a second. Let's call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item F, adopt resolution number 2018/20, approving and authorizing execution of a school facilities funding and mitigation agreement. Mrs. Ford.
If you think that you've seen this item before, it's because you have. So we're actually bringing this item back to you. On October 2nd, the board adopted the resolution to execute a school facilities funding and mitigation agreement for the formation of annexable community facilities district number 16. However, there were some clarifications that needed to be made to the name and identity of the owner that needed to be reflected in the mitigation agreement, so we're bringing it back for a second time to the board to approve and adopt this updated version. All other components of the agreement remain the same. It was just a clerical error in the name. So at this point, administration recommends the board adopt both resolution number 2018-20, approving and authorizing execution of the school facilities funding and mitigation agreement.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mendez. Second. Second by Mrs. Bradford. Any questions or comments? Okay, let's call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item G, adopt resolution number 2018/21, determining the validity of prior proceedings and establishing community facilities district number 16. Mrs. Ford.
Sorry about that. As a required step in the formation process, the board is to consider adopting resolution number 2018/21, which is the resolution of formation, to validate prior actions related to CFD number 16 and take the necessary actions to form CFD number 16. You do have a copy of the resolution, and the Community Facilities District report has been included in your backup materials. Administration recommends the board adopt resolution number 2018/21, determining the validity of prior proceedings and establishing Community Facilities District number 16.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford.
Move.
Motion by Mrs. Bradford.
Second.
Second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments? Okay, let's call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item H, adopt resolution number 2018/22, acting as the legislative body of Community Facilities District number 16 of the Jurupa Unified School District, determining the necessity to incur bonded indebtedness in the amount not to exceed $199 million within said Community Facilities District and calling a special election.
With this,
So we call for the election.
With this item, the board's to consider adopting resolution number 2018/22, resolution calling for election to submit a special tax election ballot to the landowner of CFD number 16 to authorize the CFD to issue bonds not to exceed $199 million to finance the school facilities projects identified in the mitigation agreement. At this time, the president may call for a motion.
We are now convened as the governing board of Jurupa Unified School District, Community Facilities District number 16. May I have a motion regarding the election?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Chard.
No.
Second.
A second by Mr. Mendez.
Sorry.
Motion to adopt resolution of the Board of Education of the Jurupa Unified School District acting as the legislative body of the Community Facilities District Number 16 of the Jurupa Unified School District, determining the necessity to incur bonded indebtedness in the aggregate amount not to exceed $199 million, which amount may be issued to finance facilities, and calling a special election. Now we conduct the election. Call for the vote first. Let's call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item I, adopt resolution number 2018/23, acting as the legislative body of Community Facilities District Number 16 of the Jurupa Unified School District, canvassing the results of the election held within said Community Facilities District.
So continuing with the formation process, the board is to consider adopting resolution number 2018/23, resolution canvassing election results to confirm a special election was held and to certify that the total number of votes cast for forming CFD number 16, so the president may conduct the election.
The board will now conduct an election of landowners on the question as to whether the district shall create CFD number 16 for the purpose of issuing bonds in the amount not to exceed $199 million, which amount may be issued to finance facilities within the CFD. The landowners have previously provided to this board and signed consent and waiver, under which the landowners agreed to waive the time limits and certain procedures required under the Mello-Roos Act. This permits the board to proceed directly with the election. The landowners have also provided to the board their signed ballots. Will the clerk of the board please open the ballots?
The ballots reflect a total of 10 votes in favor of establishing CFD number 16 and issuing bonds in an amount not to exceed $199 million.
May I have a motion to adopt resolution of the Board of Education of the Jurupa Unified School District, acting as the legislative body of the Community Facilities District Number 16 of the Jurupa Unified School District, canvassing the results of the election held within said Community Facilities District?
So move.
Motion by Ms. Ortega.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Chard. Any questions, comments? Okay, call for the vote.
Do you have to close that session too? Didn't we have to close it? We had already closed it? Okay.
Motion passes 5-0. Item J, review at a first reading ordinance number 2018/01, ordinance of the Board of Education for the Jurupa Unified School District, acting as the legislative body of Community Facilities District Number 16 of the Jurupa Unified School District, authorizing the levy of a special tax. Mrs. Ford.
At this time, the board is to review at a first reading ordinance number 2018/01, ordinance of the Board of Education for the Jurupa Unified School District acting as the legislative body of the Community Facilities District Number 16 of the Jurupa Unified School District, authorizing the levy of a special tax within the boundaries of CFD number 16 in order to finance the needed facilities. The special tax rate will be set each year based on the formulas in the rate and method of apportionment for CFD number 16. The president shall conduct a first reading.
In accordance with the Mello-Roos Act, the board shall now conduct a first reading of a proposed ordinance Ordinance of the Board of Education of the Jurupa Unified School District acting as the legislative body of Community Facilities District Number 16 of the Jurupa Unified School District, authorizing the levy of a special tax.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mendez? Oh, okay.
No motion.
The ordinance will be brought back
Okay.
at our next meeting for a second reading, and that will be at the time when the board will need to act.
Okay. So the meeting of the Community Facilities District Number 16 of the Jurupa Unified School District is now adjourned. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Ford. Ms. Collins? Item K, adopt resolution number 2018/24, resolution of the Board of Education of the Jurupa Unified School District authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $15 million aggregate principal amount of Jurupa Unified School District Community Facilities District Number 11, Improvement Area B. Special tax bonds, 2017 Series A, prescribing the terms thereof, approving various financing documents, and providing for other matters related thereto. Mrs. Ford.
This is definitely CFD night. So administration has worked with the district's finance team to prepare documentation allowing the district to issue on behalf of the Community Facilities District Number 11, Improvement Area B, Series A, a series of special tax bonds. The CFD number 11 bonds will be issued under the Melrose Community Facilities Act, and the district's facility proceeds of the estimated 8.5 million issuance. It says up to 15 million, but it'll be at 8.5 million estimated at this time, will be approximately 1.6 million. So that's what will be coming back to the school district for facilities to be used toward improving and equipping schools within the boundary area of the CFD. All facility funds will benefit the residents of CFD 11, and bond proceeds will also fund the reserve account and pay costs associated with the issuance and the delivery of the bonds. This resolution also approves the form of 4 additional documents, and you see that in your backup materials: a fiscal agent agreement between the district and Zion's Bank, a bond purchase agreement between the district and the underwriter, which is Stiefel, a preliminary official statement with an attached continuing disclosure agreement, which is the disclosure document that's used by the underwriter when they market the CFD 11 bonds. So at this time, administration recommends the board adopt resolution number 2018/24.
Now this one I can move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments? Okay, let's call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item L, adopt resolution number 2018/25, approving and authorizing execution of a school facilities funding and mitigation agreement. Mrs. Ford.
So this is another one. Frontier Communities has presented an offer to enter into a school facilities mitigation and funding agreement for the formation of Community Facilities District Number 18. As the board is aware, a CFD is a financing mechanism provided to the district to developers to mitigate the school facility impact resulting from the proposed new development in that CFD area. This proposal is for 176 units, which are located to the east of Wineville Avenue and south of Cantu Galliano. So this is that last dairy that was in that area. So the amount of the school facilities funding estimated to be generated by CFD number 18 is $1.6 million and will be used towards facilities to accommodate students that are generated from that new development. So administration recommends that the board adopt both resolution number 2018/25, approving and authorizing execution of a school facilities funding and mitigation agreement.
So move.
Motion by Mrs. Bradford. Second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments? Okay, call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item M, adopt resolution number 2018/26 to establish Community Facilities District number 18 and to authorize the levy of a special tax within said Community Facilities District. Mrs. Ford.
Okay, we're on the home stretch. So as a required step of the formation process, the board is to consider adopting resolution number 2018/26, resolution of intention to establish CFD number 18, its boundaries, the facilities to be financed by the CFD through the levy of special taxes, and copies of the resolution and the boundary map have been included in your backup materials. Administration recommends that the board adopt resolution number 2018/26 to establish its Community Facilities District number 18 and authorize the levy of special tax within said Community Facilities District.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford. Motion by Mrs. Bradford,
Second.
second by Mrs. Chard. Any questions or comments? Okay, call for the vote. Sylvia, you working okay? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ortega. Motion passes 5-0. Item N, adopt resolution number 2018/27, increased balance of revolving cash fund. Mrs. Ford.
Thank you. The district's revolving cash fund was established for use by the superintendent or designee to pay for goods, services, or other charges that are determined by the board, including supplemental payments required to correct payroll errors. The revolving cash fund balance has been at the same level of funding, which has been $5,000 since 2009, and we are finding that that is often putting us in a predicament. If we have a couple of payroll corrections that we need to make, $5,000 is not enough for us to be able to issue and make that correction and issue a check to the employee in a timely manner. And obviously that's very important, for us to do. So in order to better serve the purpose of the fund, which is for those emergency situations, administration is requesting to increase the revolving cash fund to $25,000. We looked at surrounding districts and we found that districts of our size were at least that amount, if not more. So we felt that that's a good balance and an average of what is out there in other districts. A copy of the resolution is included in the backup materials, and this does go to the county, and they have to approve that as well. So administration recommends the board adopt resolution number 2018/27, increased balance of revolving cash fund.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments?
A question or comment, I'm not sure. It's been a while, and 5,000 to 25,000 is quite a jump, so is that going to be good for another 8 or 9 years before we make another approval? Just kidding. It's amazing that it actually went this long without coming to the board to increase this, because that's, I can imagine you were finding yourself in difficult situations to deal with this.
We had a couple of instances, yes,
Okay, well,
that
hopefully
we would have liked to have been able to respond quicker.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item O, board member committee reports. Why don't we start with you, Mrs. Chard?
Well, last week I attended the DAC meeting, and it was the first one of the year. We had a small turnout, but there were a lot of enthusiastic ladies there, and we had quite a few gentlemen that showed up as representatives from their sites, who one was elected the president, and and he seemed to be quite enthusiastic, and he was quite knowledgeable of how a meeting should be run, so that will help Ms. Moreno and her team get things going well. We also had a great presentation by her and also by Lorraine Mooney in regards to the, my mind's gone blank, how we fare, some of the, in our LCAP plan. And they gave us our new notebooks, a lot of reading to do, and some great graphs to read up on. Everybody was very enthusiastic about that. I also went in place of Mr. Mendez, who had to serve jury duty. I went to the WASC review for the adult ed program, and it wasn't really a review, it was their committee meeting, and they were meeting, when I got there, they were meeting with several staff members and some adults and some of the students, and they informed me of some of the things, and one of the reasons they are having it was because our adult education class has been going since I graduated from high school, and that's been 50 years. But it needs updating because the people who are graduating are receiving certificates and not being able to go on, some of those are not being able to go on to another college or to get them a job right out of with their certification. So if we are accredited, then that makes it much easier for them to go out into the workforce while they're still taking their classes or once they graduate from the adult ed, and that's something that is highly necessary anymore. And also I went to the CT meeting that was approving the Jurupa Valley Innovation Center that we did the resolution on tonight, and Dr. Hansen had done a great presentation on the Rubido video plan also, which I hadn't seen before, and that is looking really good. That's going to give them a lot more space, and it's going to make that project just much more valuable to the district. They already produce so much more, and they'll be able to do even more for us, and give the kids a better I'm trying to think, stage to work from. So my mind is not, I got a cold tonight and it's not thinking right. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Chard. Mrs. Bradford.
I don't have any committee reports, but I do want to make a comment that I didn't want to make at the beginning when we had the students here with their marvelous accomplishments. And it was that I want to say again how proud I am of this district. My neighbor across the street, her husband died. She's an employee of the district. You know, here's a moment he's looking forward to the Dodgers in the World Series. The next moment, 911's here with a couple of trucks and paramedics, and a life is gone out of our district. And I am very humbled by the expressions of sentiment and well wishes for our sister employee, Roxy Edwards, and the passing of her husband, Joe, by the people with whom I've spoken. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bradford. Mr. Mendez.
Normally I would have a committee report from DLAC, which met last week, but I was summoned to do my jury duty, and so I can report on that if you'd like, but other than that I have no reports this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Ms. Ortega.
Well, I just had to share that that Saturday that I came, 2 Saturdays ago, that I came to the youth court, I really just enjoyed watching, our future leaders just come up here, and, there's an attorney, and then there's, the other students here, and just them asking questions to the student. And really, I saw myself in one of those students and changing the path of correcting my behavior and coming back to school and doing, changing my path. So I saw that the other day and just was so proud at what our district is taking, and we're being recognized for it. And I just couldn't contain myself. And there was news people here, so we came out on the news on the Press Enterprise, and I gave one of my comments to the gentleman. And besides that, we came out on the news a couple weeks ago on certain other, athletics, and also just recently the teachers out in Ainaboko who are receiving training on traumatized, being informed on trauma and how we can best assist our students. I mean, I also grew up very poor, like our teacher up here was talking about. I grew up very poor, 7 siblings, and just being resilient and having my parents support what we did, and obviously had support from this district. It's just amazing the way that we can see, not much things have changed, but how we are becoming more equipped as professionals to help these situations. Is just amazing, and how we're coming together as community to help out is amazing. I wasn't able to make it to the health fair out in Mission Middle, but I've seen with my own eyes the amazing work that Jose Campo does and the Lions Club, and just come together. And I think last year was the first time where they were able to help the children get glasses, and for them to see in their, that smile in their faces, and the family just so grateful because they're not charged for none of these services, and it's happening here in our home. It's amazing. And just lastly, I'm very excited for the Parent Center. That's, the ribbon cut this week, and having many community members there and stakeholders. And just very thankful to everyone who has also kept my dad. He's actually being discharged from the hospital as we speak. So I'm very excited for that. He's had a hard time with his health. So I thank each and every one of you for keeping him in your prayers, and my family and I are very grateful. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortega. Just some final comments. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on Ms. Ortega said about the Lions Club and the eyeglasses. And it wasn't until about a year or two ago that the Lions Club would do maybe 10 or 20 eyeglasses, send them to an eye doctor, and we'd pay for it. And now, Iracema Guzman, who works in this district here, she's the chairperson of that group called Lions Friends in Sight. So she's been working really hard over many years with that group. Twice a month they go to a different part of Southern California and even across the border. And so they're able to provide 300, 400, 500 folks with glasses. And they actually make them there. So, I mean, it's a very low cost, and all the volunteers from different Lions clubs are there to run all the equipment. There's a couple of optometrists or ophthalmologists there in case folks need additional care. So that's a really good program. And again, I want to thank Mr. Campos for his help on that. And again, the Student Youth Court, congratulations again to Elsa Garza Gonzalez, the Golden Bell. It's just such a great program. I'm looking forward to her receiving that award at the conference at the end of the month. And finally, I'm looking forward to the Delegate Assembly. Mr. Mendez served on that for several years, and I'll be asking for some feedback from my fellow board members, maybe through the Friday letter or something. Just questions on legislation, what we can do, or what we think our legislation can do, our legislators can do to help with school board funding and different types of issues. So hopefully I'll be able to get that out to you folks this Friday. And on that, that's about all I have. Mr. Deshawn, any final thoughts?
I just want to echo what a couple of the trustees said about our students. I'm just so proud, and when a student like Camille, on her own initiative, I have to say that goes back to many years of education in Jurupa. I want to thank our teachers and our support staff that we create students who have the self-assuredness to move forward totally on her own initiative. And I really hope she gets picked because she has a voice that's different from many of the students in California. and yet represents a lot of them that come from communities like Jurupa. So I'm just so proud.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, and meeting adjourned.